Hey there, this is Robert Budd, and you are listening to The Robert Budd Show. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. If you are a return listener, thank you so much for coming back and having a listen. If you are new to the show, new to listening to Robert Budd's show, thank you so much for tuning in. And I really, really appreciate it. I know your time is valuable, and I just want to thank you, first of all. Today, in today's show, I interviewed Franz Snideman. And Franz and I have been friends for close to 10 years. We've been in the fitness profession together for, he's been in for over 16 years. And we know each other from doing kettlebells. So we were RKC instructors together. And he has been a senior instructor for Strong First. He's been a senior instructor for the RKC, Russian Kettlebell Challenge. He's also CKFMS, which is a movement screen specialist. He's founder of Primal Sprint. He's founder of Primal Move National Instructor, and he's not the founder of Primal Move Instructor, he's just a national instructor. If I can read this right, you guys are going to get a sense of who Franz is. He's a co-creator of Primal Move Velocity and co-owner of Revolution Fitness Studio located in La Jolla, California, which is out of San Diego. Franz is an expert kettlebell instructor, former collegiate... Man, I cannot speak today. He was a sprinter in college. I can't spit that word out. International and national lecturer. Man, if Franz, if you're listening to this, I just kind of butchered that. Holy cow. All right, let's get into this. So, this is really fun to interview Franz because I really feel that we're a lot alike. He doesn't stumble over his words quite as much as I do. He can probably read an introduction like no other, which I have just about botched. But hey, man, this is real life. This is Robert. I could redo this over and over again, but you just won't get a real sense of who I am. And this is actually the second take of this introduction, so that's who I am. So Franz grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. He went to Santa Fe Prep, and then he went to Arizona State University and ran track there. We get into a little bit of that. We get into a lot of his past because I really feel that who Franz is today has a lot to do with his past, being a sprinter. We go into how he was a late developer, which is really cool. And so we talk a lot about business, but what I thought was cool was that what we talked about with business really has a lot of carryover into life. So without further ado and without further stumbling around, Franz Snideman's introduction, here's Franz. Okay. Hi, Franz.
Hey, Robert.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So the first thing I always like to ask people for a sound check is, what did you have for breakfast?
I had my weekly pancakes. Once a week, I go to Harry's coffee shop. I get 2 fried eggs. I get some black coffee. And I had buckwheat pancakes. 2 buckwheat pancakes.
Any particular reason why you do buckwheat and not buttermilk?
I feel like I'm eating like a dessert, like I'm eating cake.
Yeah.
When I have like the buttermilk. I think they're a lot more fluffy, but I feel like I don't need as much when I eat the buckwheat. It's like hearty, and I feel like I'm eating like that really grainy, like rough bread. Like ugh, but it's good. So I'm just mixing it up.
Is it a weekly thing? Like you'll go in and like, give me the regular. Is it like that?
Kind of, yeah. I just, I love the old coffee shop feel where you have like a booth and you feel like, everybody's friendly and you feel like you've gone back a couple generations. And I don't know. I really feel good about humanity and society when I go to this place, Harry's, in La Jolla.
It's like a sense of community.
Yeah, and it's just like there's a lot of old people there and a lot of high schoolers, a lot of middle-aged. There's like all portions of society represented there, and but they're very friendly, like ultra friendly, like just like when I was a kid. You go into like a diner. Hi, sweetie.
Yeah.
Hi, love. You want something?
Do you ever take anybody with you?
No. It's my time. I usually bring reading material, or I bring my laptop and I do a brain dump. As I'm eating, I just like everything that's on my head. Typically, it's more business stuff. I just will dump everything down, kind of like you see here. Just ideas on, certifications I'm having, or education stuff I'm trying to create, or a book that I've been trying to finish for years. So yeah, it's just kind of my time to eat and have some coffee and eat some pancakes.
A couple of notes. Well, for one, he pointed to a whiteboard on the wall. He says, this is what I have here. And I love a whiteboard, except I don't use it. I don't use one. I'll dump on it, and then I'll just never look at it again.
Okay.
How does this system work for you? Like, what do you do?
I mean, I'm probably kind of in the middle. Like sometimes I'll use it, and I'll get really excited, and then I won't really use it for like another month. But typically when I have like a deadline or I've got to get something done, it just, every day I'll add to it. And then when I'm having to write an article or I'm having to finish up like a manual, I can just I don't have to go through my notes. I can just look at the main bullet point and say, So it's just it's more just like a visual reminder of the big rocks, like the big things that I have to get done or the ideas that I want to convey in whatever platform I'm working on.
Yeah, that's a really great process.
Yeah.
I dig it, yeah.
So, but I mean, it's not there's not really a system I have. It's like a very scattered system that works for me. Like my brain is not ultra organized like an engineer. I don't have to have sequential logic in my mind maps or my brain dumps. All I need is a concept. So I'm much more conceptual. As long as I have an idea, then it just flows from there. That's just the way my brain works. I'm not ultra linear.
Mm-hmm. How'd you figure that out? Trial and error? Or?
Yeah, I just kind of know how I am. I just that's I think I mean I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but I think I have a very active brain. My twin brother actually was diagnosed with ADHD, which probably means that I haven't because we're identical twins. But basically, it's akin to having a very active brain. Imagine having a Ferrari, but with Ford Pinto brakes, right? I go, whoa, wow, yeah, and I go off in every direction, but sometimes it's hard to, put the brakes on. So for me, I constantly have to be, writing things down, or I have to, see these big things on whiteboards just to keep me on task. Because unless I have a little bit of stress, I tend not to get things done.
Yeah.
I tend to just totally procrastinate.
Yeah.
And, it's kind of stressful to always be at the last second trying to get something done, but that's kind of how I operate, and I think I need that stress.
Yeah, I work better under pressure, like a deadline, stuff is due tomorrow. And I'm a big note taker, but I think it helps me just to write the note down, whether I look at it or not. It's sometimes irrelevant. Sometimes I'll look at them, but most of the times it's just good to, like you said, dump, and it gets kind of the juices flowing and stuff like that.
Totally, yeah. I think just the act of doing it.
Yeah.
You're just taking information and you're even just writing it out in your own verbiage. It kind of, I don't know, it kind of cements it in a bit. Whether or not you go back and look at it, I think I agree with you there.
Yeah. Well, how was it as a kid growing up with the twin? Do you really feel like you mentioned since he has it, more than likely you may have ADHD, or
we're identical twins.
Is it like that for you guys? I mean, do you guys have that many similarities?
We're very similar. Yeah. Our voices are scarily similar.
I've noticed that too.
You don't have Keats. We're shockingly similar. I don't have any idea on what it's like to not be a twin.
Of course.
So my whole, every perception I have is through the lens of a twin. So I always know that. Even though he lives in Arizona, I live here in San Diego. It's I don't know what it's like to be a non-twin. So I always feel a connection with him. I talk to him every single day, even though I probably see him only a couple times a year. But yeah, I think it's a connection that is super special. I loved it. I mean, it was great. And you got a lot of attention. Girls loved us. We were super popular. We got a lot of girlfriends. Got to play tricks on the girlfriends, which was even more fun. Don't ask any more questions. Just leave it at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I think it's fraternal twins are a lot more common. Identical twins are like a total fluke. There's no identical twins on either side of my family that I can see going back like tons of generations. Just like a fluke.
Yeah. What do you think? Have you ever thought of the pros and cons of being, like, you guys being identical twins and looking at other siblings? Like, I've got an older sister. You say, well, they argue over blah, blah, blah. We have it that we don't, just because we're that connected. Or have you ever looked at it that way? Or
yeah, I mean, I think there's pros and cons to everything. Like, there's obviously, I mean, you can get kind of lost when you're younger. Your parents stress you a lot. You kind of become like a pair. You don't really, you can lose your individual identity as a twin, to where you're always, hey, let's go see the twins. We're going over to the twins' house. You kind of reach a point as you get older where you can kind of keep that going, which I don't think is very healthy. Or you start to kind of branch into your own person. And even though you can celebrate being a twin, like you have to develop your own identity and your own passions, and we have your own families, obviously. And, but we already, we lived in the same city until I was probably 23, 24.
You guys went to the same college and everything, Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona State.
Yeah.
So, there's definitely cons to it, but I think the pros outweigh the cons. It's probably brutal on the parents. I mean, as a parent now, myself with a 9-year-old and a 7-year-old, I can't imagine my poor parents having to deal with 2 twins, diapers. My sister is only a year older than us, like a year and maybe a bit. So having 3 kids in diapers, I think twins is awesome because you get 2 done at once, but brutal. Like, I really feel for parents that have twins. I was just like, oh, God bless you. It's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just have no time.
What was your guys', if you can, I don't know if it was the same for your brother or not, your major influences as a kid? Was it your dad or your mom or a teacher? Like, how'd you get into sports and kind of the critical thinking that you do now?
Well, I think our main influence was probably each other. My parents were running a nonprofit school, like a kindergarten through 12th grade in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So I don't want to say we were neglected, but they didn't have a lot of time for us because they were so busy. So we really didn't start school till 4th grade. Like, we kind of just were hanging around the school till we hit 4th grade. So we didn't, we didn't learn how to draw. We didn't learn how to write. So I entered 4th grade. We actually flunked because I couldn't draw. I couldn't draw a circle. I didn't know how to use a button or scissors. We were highly underdeveloped. And to this age, at 43 years old, I still have a really hard time with scissors, and I have I'm pretty coordinated with gross motor movements, but my fine motor control, I think if you miss that window and you don't start till you're 10 or 11, you kind of lose it. I couldn't catch a basketball. It was very uncoordinated. So we lived in our own world, which was kind of athletic because we just wanted to move around a lot. So I think my main influence was probably my brother, and I would say me on him. Because we had parents and we had family, but they were they were so busy with my sister that we kind of just were in the background. But then as we got older, both my parents were academics and wanted us to study and play violin and do music, and we just wanted to run around and play. So then we got in, when we hit 4th grade, we got into basketball. And then it was just I just said, I like sports. I like the way this makes me feel. I'm not good at it. Mm-hmm. But, I think it's what we needed to become more balanced people. It really kind of balanced us.
The sports balanced you out.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because we were pretty hyperactive, but we're not necessarily able to channel that into a positive direction. Huh. You get into trouble, you fight a lot, you do the stupid things that boys do. But, sports really grounded us. And then as we got into high school, we actually found out we had talent in sprinting and speed. And it was the first time in my life, I realized, whoa, I've never been good at anything. I've always just been, he's just a guy, doesn't get picked for sports. He's the last, we weren't that athletic. We were these skinny little gangly kids that weren't that good at anything. And then we got into high school, and to my amazement, I was pretty good. I broke the school record in the 100 meter in high school, the 200 meter. We won some state medals in state, and then went on to partial college scholarship. And to this day, it's just I think that impacted me so much. I just said, wow, this is awesome. I think you're always searching for things that make you feel alive, mm-hmm. and that make you feel just like a supra high experience. And that for me, it was speed and power and sprinting and jumping and dunking basketballs when my back was healthier. And I'm 43 now, and I'd never, I've always loved that feeling and want to make other people kind of feel that. But yeah, I think that was our genesis, was just we kind of motivated each other. There wasn't really like one person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have a cert, Primal Speed, and
yes.
The first thing I think of when you're telling the story is you have this certification that you go, I'm assuming, back into the primal, like how we move primally and stuff like that. Yeah. And so what clicked in my head was you didn't do a lot of the things, like fine motor skills and stuff like that as a kid, but
no.
You're out running around, all that kind of stuff. Has any of that influenced what you do for your certification?
I mean, I don't think anything I did as a kid did. But I think as an adult, in going back and kind of seeing a lot of the things that I missed, and now with this huge like renaissance over the last 10 years of like ground-based movements and primal movements and animal flow and you name it, original strength, like all this cool ground-based stuff, which is really just based on like motor learning for infants.
Yeah,
we just know a lot more now, and just how the brain develops and how it's connected to the body and reflexes. So really, in studying that and just experimenting, seeing like big gaps that I had.
Like what was the big gaps that you had? What do you mean by that?
I think just like I didn't develop some of these like intrinsic systems for like rolling and crawling. I mean, I don't know if I rolled or crawled. Maybe I did. My parents never told me. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But seeing the radical improvement in just my performance and my functionality from doing those movements. I remember like I've always wanted to do like a side flag or like a clutch flag.
Right, yeah.
Where it's, you like hold onto a pole and you stick your leg straight out like a flag. It's hard. And I've been trying it for years and I could just never even like budge it. And I can remember the first time I'd ever really crawled seriously for like, with any intention was at a Primal Move certification with Dragon Door up in Seattle. And I crawled around for 2 days, and then I went to try the clutch flag. Or actually, no, I was on a stall wall, and I went and I grabbed the bar and I nailed it, perfect.
Arm straight,
like like this, nailed it perfect on both sides. And I said, okay, wait a second. It's never like I have failed miserably for years trying to do that, and I've lifted weights and done kettlebells and. So I just did something novel and new. I crawled around and rolled and made my abs sore and just felt like so stiff and just felt like really out of sorts because I just didn't spend a lot of time on the ground. And I was able to nail it. So that was kind of an eye-opener for me, like, okay, they're clearly, like I had the capacity to do a flag or to do some of like these really cool feats of strength. I didn't have the neurologic power or connection, like I wasn't integrated. So there was something that happened in my nervous system. I didn't gain any new muscles during that. Like nothing bold. Like
right.
In 2 days, you're not going to build any new tissue. So, but there was something that happened in my brain, where my brain had all these governors in there. This is the way that I like to think of it, and basically just saying, no, we're not going to let you do any of this cool stuff because you're going to injure yourself. Hurt your back. No. Something about that crawling and rolling and playing. It was basically 2 days of playing around on the ground. My brain said, okay. It felt confident, and it let me do it. So, it wasn't like I couldn't do it. It's just, it just finally, because of what I had reenacted, my movement literacy just improved. Like I went from like a C to an A, just from doing stuff that I hadn't done. So that aspect of it now kind of motivates me. The Primal Speed Cert is now 2 days. There's a section where we just kind of revisit some of the primal movements. They're not everybody is going to get as much of a benefit as I did because they may not have as big of a deficit, but maybe some people have more of a deficit and they'll see like what I think are like miracles, like these huge changes in their performance, literally overnight. Just because of these reflexes getting turned on, or just certain systems of the body that are just upgraded.
And along with that, what else has influenced your Primal Speed? Like coaches or your past?
Oh, definitely coaches. Yeah. There's just my first the first sprinting coach back in the '90s that I really liked. bought all his stuff and I just watched all his videos was Charlie Francis, and he was the sprint coach for Canada, like back in the 70s and 80s, and he was Ben Johnson's coach. Now, for those of you that don't know, Ben Johnson won the Seoul Olympics. He set a world record against Carl Lewis in 1988. A day later, he got stripped of it because of steroid use. But that's kind of beside the point. They were all on steroids. But he just got caught. But his training was probably the biggest influence to date that really was kind of, it was very counterintuitive to what I had been taught. It was the opposite. I was always taught from my high school coach and my college coach, which worked for some people, which was you take a sprinter or any kind of runner and you start long, you start with endurance, and then as the season goes on, you start increasing speed and power. It never worked for me. I always got kind of slower. And Charlie Francis said the opposite. He said, well, if your goal is speed and power, you're a 100-meter sprinter or a 60-meter sprinter, if that's the number one goal, why would you not prioritize that? Right? Why would you start long? He said, why don't you start short and then go long? And I did, and my times dropped dramatically. I was able to run, like a 10.6, 10.7 in the 100-meter. All my times improved. So I didn't pick it. I didn't choose him as a mentor because everybody else was. It's because his freaking information worked and it made sense. I'm like, duh. Like, if you want to get good at flexibility or yoga, you probably should do yoga, right? If you want to be fast, you should probably prioritize speed work. The longer you go in distance, the slower you are. So it was nonsensical. I went back, I said, what was I thinking? And I wasn't thinking. I was just a sheep listening to what my coaches taught me. But it didn't work. So for me, like, Primal Speed is a synthesis of just studying under great coaches like Charlie Francis, Tom Tellez. There's a lot of other good coaches. Derek Hansen is another guy that I've studied all of this stuff. Lee Taft. So there's probably about 10 to 15 coaches that I'm just continually studying their information. And then I internalize it and use the stuff that kind of works for me. Like, I think, like, you can't just take somebody's information and regurgitate it because it may not make sense. Like, you have to take the stuff that works, kind of like the Bruce Lee principle. You take the stuff that works and you got to kind of make it work for your system. So Primal Speed is it's an evolving system. It's very adaptable. It's changing. But it's kind of based on listening to what's working for that person. So the goal is to really create a coach that can think, not just regurgitate what Franz Snideman says. Take principles, take like solid biomechanical principles, but also learn that most important thing is that you have to read the athlete and you have to read the client. I mean, you've been in the training business for decades. I mean, you know what that is. What works for Bob isn't going to work for Sue.
Yeah.
And the way you teach it and the way you approach it, it may end up with the same result, but like the delivery system is so different, right? And I think that's kind of the art of coaching, and that's kind of my passion with some of these courses and these certs I'm teaching, is to just people to think. Like, they teach people how to think, right?
I want to stop you there just for a second, just so I can. The mushroom coffee.
I'm excited. I'm like looking at it like, oh.
Yeah, try it out when you have something to do to think about. You know what I mean? Like you're working on your cert or you're brain dumping or whatever.
Use it then?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Improve cognitive function.
Exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm game.
Yeah.
I'll text you.
It's all kinds of stuff, studies in there about how the mushrooms increase. It's like a brain drug.
Shrooms. People do shrooms all the time.
Yeah. It won't give you psychedelic, so
I don't want to.
So what makes you different as a coach?
What makes me different? I think you're kind of like your past history kind of makes every coach different. So like your life experiences naturally teach you something about life and how kind of the world operates. So from that vantage point, I would think that every coach has a unique kind of different perspective. I would say that probably like my entire basis of like the way that I operate is what makes me different. And it's, I think, and maybe you can relate to this because I kind of see you as fairly similar. But I think my acceptance of people has allowed me to be successful in this context, in the fitness context. Because I think there's very few places people can go where they feel safe. Where they, and for some people, like training is one of the best parts of their day. It's where they can come, they can sweat, they can talk, they can laugh, they can brain dump on you, whatever. And I think for whatever reason, I've been able to develop some skills to be very adaptable to work with many different types of people. So I think that's my skill set, is that I'm able to kind of understand people. And, some people are more difficult than others. I don't know if you've ever had some challenging clients.
Never.
But
they're really blessed.
I think I'm able to kind of adapt to people's moods and energy, and maybe so much so that it kind of was pretty detrimental to me, because I would just kind of absorb their energy and absorb their toxic stress. Not all of them.
Right.
But as I've gotten older, I've really learned, I've had to learn to kind of meet them at their level, and then realize that their problems or their energy is not my energy. And I don't have to participate. I can be there and support them and acknowledge that things are good or bad or neutral or whatever. But it's taken me a while to kind of learn how to kind of protect myself. Yeah. So that I'm not totally depleted.
Was there an aha moment when you did that? Getting sick a lot, or
yeah. That, and also I had a really tough client. I won't mention any names. There was just really bad energy, and it was a struggle. It was a couple-year client, and there was just one session. And I think I've always been kind of afraid to let a client go, but it just wasn't healthy for me, and I dreaded the session. Right. I just absolutely dreaded it, and he said something once, and I just, I basically just said, you know what, I am not the trainer for you. I'm not helping you. So whatever I have isn't working. Mm-hmm. You've got some other issues that are maybe beyond training. I'm going to refer you maybe to a therapist, a physical therapist. You've got other issues. And the guy got really upset and mad, but for me it was kind of a aha moment. It was a victory, because I was able to stand up for myself and say, but no, life is short. You only live once. Why am I gonna I want to enjoy this. I want to enjoy this profession. I want to work with cool people, motivated people, and not every client training relationship is a good fit. Just because somebody's paying you doesn't mean you need to keep them as a client. In fact, you shouldn't. So learning to let go of people, and learning to, I think just kind of attract the kind of clients that I want. I think that's just kind of comes with experience. In the beginning, you're just hungry to have. Right. You just want to. Yeah. You want to pay the bills and eat. You just take anything. And then as you've been doing it a couple decades, I started in 1996, so I've been doing this for 21 years full time. I haven't done anything else. This is all I've done. Right. So I made a lot of mistakes, but I think I've learned a lot, and I've also I think you kind of hit a groove where you kind of hit like a nice rhythm to your training, where as you evolve, your clients evolve, and then you're able to kind of give them a different part of you. And then as you develop the non-fitness stuff, which, as we know, we have a lot of other things in our life that are not only fitness related, that kind of makes you a more interesting person and a more well-rounded person. And I think you end up attracting different types of clients, just because you can kind of relate to them on a different level.
Yeah.
So I think, that's kind of a long-winded answer.
It's great because it has a ton of carryover into regular life. If you're a new kid at school, all you want it to be is liked, and you're going to try to get everybody you can to like you or whatever it is, just being a new trainer, and as you evolve and be more self-confident or whatever it is, or your skill of being in a relationship develops, then you start to attract different people, and it's just a growing process.
It's like an evolution.
Yeah. I look at when somebody says they're a coach, or I look at coaches or something like that, I tend to look at, okay, who have you coached? You're a coach, who have you coached? And I know you've done a ton of certifications, and you're a coach's coach. What has you do that? Why is that a passion for you? And I know it is because I've seen you at certifications, and your passion for teaching others, and especially coaches. I mean, I can speak for myself too. I love coaching coaches. I love it when people show up to certifications and they're like, just feed it to me and I'm going to soak it all up. I just dig on that, you know?
Yeah.
What's it for you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. Like, I actually like working with coaches more. I mean, nothing against like the general population, but yeah, I think my parents were college professors, and maybe kind of watching them teach, and I think I just enjoy teaching people that are going to go out and teach. And I think it's more just, I think it's just my constitution. Like, my brain works differently when I have to teach somebody that I know I'm probably not going to see again, or at least not a lot. It's like my brain goes into a different mode. So I'm able to kind of put things together that I wouldn't normally put together for like somebody that comes in 3 days a week and, for 10 years. So for me, yeah, it's much more motivating to coach a coach because a coach is going to be a person of like massive influence. They're going to go out there. So I think it's like the impact you have is potentially much greater because you're affecting that coach, but you're also affecting all the people underneath them. And we as coaches, we have to emulate our mentors, right? When you don't know anything about kettlebells or anything about ground movements or anything about podcasting or whatever, like you need to have that initial coach that helped kind of launch you to get going and to influence other people. So I think it's an incredible responsibility, but it's also like an amazing blessing, because I think when you get people that are paying good money to learn, the motivation level's different. And I just think the energy exchange is like magic when you got somebody that's just hungry, like, oh God, this is such good information. And finding a way to relate to people and to coaches on that level is, it's a complete passion of mine. I hope I'd never stop. That's why I'm really kind of heading more towards the coaching the coaches. I think it's where I can have the biggest impact, and it's where I actually do my best work.
Why do it? Why bother with any of it? I know I got it. It's a passion of yours, and it sounds fulfilling. But why do you get up in the morning and brain dump and go eat pancakes and
Hey, that's only once a week. You're making me sound like a slob. No. Why do I do what I do?
Yes, why?
Everybody wants to like be the best version of themselves, and when I'm in that creative mode, when I'm like learning and growing and sharing, I feel like I'm living as like the bigger version of me, right? Like there's two Franzes. There's like a little Franz and there's like a big Franz. And when I just live life as like this small little version of myself, I do my things, I go through the motions, but I'm not really alive. I'm not really alive. I'm anxious, I'm thinking about bills, I'm thinking about relationships or my kids. I'm not really in the moment. When I am engaged in creating and sharing and teaching, I'm alive. That's why I do it. One, from like a total selfish perspective, when I can get into that zone, I'm alive. Like I don't think of anything else. Like I'm just like, I don't get there all the time. I'd be lying if I don't live in this like zone bubble all the time. But I can get there, and I love it.
I like that zone bubble.
Yeah, the zone bubble. But I think I do it because when I'm alive, I share that with other people, and they become alive, and then it's like infectious. And I see them come alive, and I impact them, and then they start living as, oh my God, maybe I am better, maybe I am stronger, maybe I can live that way, maybe I can build my business. So for me, impacting other people, seeing other people live as the bigger version of themselves, is like that's what I do. So whether I'm working with an athlete, an aging athlete, like I want them to feel alive. Like that's why I do it. My parents were horrible alcoholics and they died young. And they, for the last 15 years of their lives, they were like Gollum. They were like skinny little alcoholic people shriveled up. And it pained me And I said, I'm never going to do that. And I'm never going to allow anybody that I know or love to do that. Because you don't have to. You don't have to live like that.
Right.
So seeing people lose capacity and functionality, well, one, intentionally, they did it on purpose. But like I feel like I have an obligation to keep myself there. I mean, like, totally away from that. But like, you never need to get there. You can be like Jack LaLanne, right? I mean, you can just basically, like, it's a difference between like a lifespan. Like, so my dad lived to 76, but like at 60, he was pretty much dead. Mm-hmm. Same with my mom. You're like the walking corpse. You're alive, taking up space, but you're dead, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't care about your lifespan. I care about your health span. And health span is like, how healthy were you for every year that you were alive? Like, that's all that matters. Like, I don't want people to lose their capacity. So I have like a very big motivation to as people age, and definitely in this gym, they get better. They get worse. Get stronger. You do more chin-ups. You do more pull. Who says you can't sprint at 8? Who says that? Why can't you? People just assume, well, I can't do chin-ups. I'm 74. I'm like, bullshit.
Yeah, where'd that rule come?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who made up that rule?
Who cares? Yeah. Yeah. Jack LaLanne never knew a decade or a year of ill health ever. He died in the 90s. But that's basically the goal for me and the goal for everybody. You want to be healthy, dead. And that's it, right? Yeah. But if you're 70 and you're unlucky enough to get totally unhealthy and you get a bunch of diseases, and then you're worse, you're unlucky to live another 20 years in that. Who wants to live 1 year like that? 20 years, like hanging on to life? That's horrible. So my goal is, let's keep people as athletic as possible. Let's set the bar high. Right? Get them in an environment where they see people older than them doing chin-ups and sprinting, like, oh, well, wait a second. If that's the environment you're in, you're going to get drafted up into that.
Yeah.
So this is the athletic dojo, right? Everywhere I go, I want to make it an athletic dojo to where people, there's just an expectation that you're going to do well. And you're going to be able to do this stuff. And play and throw frisbees and jump and sprint and not lose that capacity. So that's why I do it. Yeah, I want to make people feel alive, and the arena I do that through is just making people feel more athletic.
Yeah.
Right?
Say more about the aging athlete. You spoke a little bit about it before we push record, and you're passionate about that too. Like, tell me more about because when I took your sprinting workshop, you're like, yeah, have your 80-year-old clients do the basic, marching, skipping, starting marching, skipping, all that kind of stuff, and that I was like, yeah, anybody can do that.
Exactly. They might not, like an 8-year-old or 7-year-old who's never sprinted, probably not a good idea to go put them in a 100-meter dash and like starting blocks. But they can start marching.
Yeah.
They can start skipping. They can develop the foundation of the proper like biomechanics and speed principles, and then over time, you just gradually give them you just kind of nudge them forward a little bit, give them like a little more stress until they're freaking sprinting. Mm-hmm. Let's say, well, we didn't happen overnight. But we just kind of built the foundation, and then we just started kind of spicing in a little bit of speed and power. I'm not saying that's the only thing they should do, but, I mean, obviously strength, mobility, all that stuff's important, endurance. But speed and power seems to be the motor qualities that are lost the fastest. Why? Because people don't do them. They stop. They hit middle age, they graduate high school, they never do it again. And unless you're like in a sport. When was the last time you ran a 100-meter dash, or you did a standing broad jump, or you tested your vertical jump? Or people don't do it. So my thing is that it's not dangerous as long as you keep it in all the time. One of the things I was talking about with my brother, who's done a lot of research. Actually, one of his research topics he had to do in physical therapy school was on tendons and what happens to tendons as we age. And one of the most problematic issues that I've had, and my brother, and a lot of sprinters and runners, is this biggest tendon in your body, the Achilles tendon. As you age, it kind of sucks, but like the tendon gets thicker. But not only that, like every little strain or injury you get, your body lays down new pain receptors. So now you have the potential to feel more than you did previously. So it's like a double-edged sword. So learning how to deal with tendon issues, because when you get older, I mean, your body changes and your connective tissue starts to get basically drier, right? Mm-hmm. You think of dough, right? You have fresh pizza dough, it's like fresh, but you come back a day later, it's a little drier. Come back 3 days later, it's really dry. every decade of life, that dough, our fascia, gets drier, and the chances of getting all sorts of connective tissue issues, and that's just a reality that the aging person has to deal with. If you're not very active, you may not notice it as much. If you're an athlete competing and you're sprinting out of the blocks and you've got tendonitis in your Achilles, you feel it. So these become very real issues, and I'm fascinated by how to take what science is saying now about tendons and like a lot of like natural therapies and even just really good stretching, mobility, and trying to figure out how to apply that to the aging athlete. Because if you're high on life because you're able to do what your body wants to do, your mind's working better. But if you're not, because you're so freaking injured, then we know that our mental capacity, basically goes down. Hormonal health goes down. It's just sort of like it's kind of depressing when you lose your functionality. So, like, I want to get people to figure out, okay, well, like you can't, like if you have massive injuries, like you can't necessarily change that, right? Like if you have an ACL injury, it's not going to be the same. If you have a hip replacement, it's not going to be the same. But how do you take science and how do you take like really intelligent training and rehab and just smush it together and just ask different questions? Like, okay, well, all right, we know this stuff happens, but like, how can we get it better, and how can we continue to compete and do the things that make us feel alive? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like you said, stay in the game earlier. Stay in the game, and what game that is, like evaluate what game. What
changes?
Yeah.
Maybe badminton for somebody. Maybe racquetball. People love racquetball. They love stand-up paddleboarding. Is huge.
Yeah. The post you did just the other day about you've had to reevaluate because you're in your 40s now, and I kind of get not kind of, but I get reality checks when I'm around younger coaches and stuff like that. Yeah. I see how they're bounding around and thinking, I one time I knew I could do that. Exactly. My game has changed a little bit. Yes. I'm still in the game. I'm still very, fitness orientated, and but my game changes. It used to be trying to lift as much as I possibly can. It's changed since I don't want to do that anymore. Right. Now it could be rowing or handstands or whatever. My game changes. Like what's that? For you, you're still sprinting. I was a sprinter, and then in about early 2000s, I got married and had kids, and I just stopped sprinting. And I had a business, I had a mortgage. My focus changed. But in that, that 16, 17 year period, like I continued to coach and I continued to be in the world and sprint and like deal with sprinters. But like I just didn't do it. So I lost a lot of that vital capacity. My 100 meters is pathetic right now, but I'd like to get it back. But what does getting it back look like for you?
Well, I just want to compete without pain.
Yeah.
I just want to compete without pain.
All right, that makes sense.
But for me, the problem, somebody who's I'm prone towards tendon issues anyway, and I kind of have a stiffer, like tighter platform. Like I'm just stiff. My joints are stiff, and I wouldn't say I'm very mobile or flexible, but that's one of the reasons I was good at sprinting. Sometimes that stiffness in your body can help you because you can transfer energy through the kinetic chain a little bit easier. But then it sucks to live in that body.
I commented on that. I was watching one of my buddies sprint today, and he's very stiff, but he's fast.
Super fast.
Yeah, he's fast. I'm like, okay, I think it's because he's stiff.
It can help. It can help. I mean, obviously, there comes a point where if you're too stiff, but for me, staying in the game is I would love to. I'd love to compete again, and I have a couple meets I'm going to do, God willing, hopefully, next month. Just some like 100-meter dashes and stuff. But more importantly, like I want to help other people, other other athletes that are aging get that vital capacity back. And I'm not saying everybody needs to go to track and field. That's a very small minority. It's a very small group, but wouldn't hurt. I mean, it'd be nice. I mean, I'd like to see these primal speed like track clubs everywhere and meets. In fact, I started a challenge this year called the Primal Speed Power Challenge, and it's basically 4 events which are very safe to do. There's a 50-meter dash, standing broad jump, a medicine ball back toss for distance, and a rotational like chopping throw.
Is there someplace people can find this because they're listening to it now?
It's on the website. You go to primalspeed.com. It's done twice a year, and you can do it in any country, any state. In fact, there's a section on the website, on the Primal Speed website, where you can go in and you can enter your score, enter your age, blah, and then you enter your score, like your time in the 50 meter. It's just an honesty thing, but you just enter your stuff, and that'll end up on the website. But what it does is it gives you a gauge to kind of assess your power and speed, which again, those are the motor qualities that are lost the fastest. And those are the ones that, like, doctors say, like the medical establishment says, oh, don't do it.
Right.
Like, slow down. Like, oh, just, don't ever do anything power. What? That's what keeps us alive. Like, it's the fast twitch fibers and the health of our nervous systems connecting to power that will prevent you from falling. Or at least probably, like, allow the outcome to be a little bit more favorable for you. Right? But if you have no power and there's no connection, you fall, you see older people fall, you're just like, turn on, and bam, and skull goes to, it's a horrible feeling. I don't know if you've seen somebody fall, it's terrible. But that doesn't need to happen. You don't need to lose those vital capacities. It really is lose it or do it. Like, as long as you keep that up, just keep like 1 day a week of some kind of power training. It's a little bit of jumping, skipping, hopping, sprinting, swings, like keep some power in your training. You don't lose it. And the problem is when you lose it, then you got to get it back again, right? You've got to. That's been part of my issue is that I took more than a decade off of sprinting, and now I'm like 20 pounds heavier. I'm like, I just don't have it anymore. But I'm loving the process. But it's my tendons. That just kind of bugs me. But so far so good. I've been okay. But
yeah.
So again, the aging athlete thing is just it's just like something that's like we're all aging. But I really want to give the message that, with intelligent training and kind of a gentle nudge. I'm not saying to run out and do all this. If you just nudge yourself a little bit, your body will adapt. That will adapt. And then you'll get better. And then you'll be able to do a little bit more. So as long as the adaptations don't happen too fast, they never stop. Never. Like, if you're able to sprint healthily, sprint once a week for the rest of your life. Even if it's only like 30 meters. Don't ever stop again. Tendons don't like change. They're change phobic. They don't like it.
Yeah.
These Achilles here, I'm grabbing my Achilles. Don't stop. As soon as you take out power and speed and jumping, and then you take 5 years off and go play basketball and tear your Achilles.
Right.
You need surgery because they don't like it. They don't want to change. So just keep those aptitudes alive. And if you're a person who needs to gain them back, then come take my course.
Yeah. How do they train? How does somebody train for this challenge? Is there things on the website so people can train for it? Because heaven forbid somebody hears this and goes and does a challenge and
do not do that.
Blows something out.
No, you gotta train for it. And there's some articles on there that'll give you just some very basic templates. Like, you're really not running over like 30 meters. It's like really short stuff. But you got to do the drills. So the running drills that are on there, you'll see A skips and B skips and all the stuff that we did during the course that you took. That is their training, because that right there will wipe them out. But they're not getting up to high speeds where they're going to injure themselves. Like, once they go out into full sprints, that's where people start injuring themselves. But as long as you start with like basic drills and you're just patient, your body will adapt.
I did some of that this morning, and I don't know if it was because I was interviewing you today or just had it on the brain that's what I wanted to do. Go skip and do all the drills and then go sprint.
Just do it once a week.
Yeah. That was my once a week.
Just keep it a little. Just like never take it out of your program. Just see it as it's like a capacity you never want to lose. You don't need to go like 100% all the way. You're like 90%, 85%.
Yeah.
Throw some med balls around, do some drills, do some sprints. Push up into sprints. You don't need to do a lot. The thing is, you just need to be consistent. Yeah. You want to keep that adaptation in your tendons. You want to keep that elasticity in your body. Yeah. Since it naturally goes anyway, don't give it a reason to completely just fall off your body.
What's a myth, whether it's in sprinting or in the industry or something that you hear about and you want to just squash?
A myth. Well, I think there's a myth that distance running is the best thing for your fitness. And I'm not anti-distance running. I actually do a little bit myself. But I think it's a shame that endurance and running get that's the gold star, that's the standard. That's where you need to start. And I would argue that you actually you need to learn. I'm not saying like you have to start with sprinting, but if you start with the easiest thing possible and get really good at that, then like the hardest thing is going to be really hard. Whereas if you start with the hardest thing possible, sprinting, like if that's the base of the pyramid, then to go to distance running is such a downgrade, right? It's like oh, I don't need to leave my feet as high. It's like the power needed to run long distances, you can't touch a candle compared to what you need for sprinting. So I think I think the myth is that like everybody can run. That's not true, because even distance running is a skill. Is that you just need to learn the gait cycle period better, right? Sprinting just has a much bigger wheel. You're just lifting your foot higher, your hips flexing more. There's a lot more movement going on, which means that there's more power you can produce. So my whole thing is build power capacity first, what I call a power reserve, right? The 10K runner who can run a 24-second 200-meter is going to be much better off than the 10K runner who can only run a 35-second 200, right? Because he's got much more power capacity. He has a reserve. Mm-hmm. So the myth would be like don't just live in the endurance zone. Like endurance is an aspect of health we all need. It's an adaptation in the heart we all need, right? You can only get certain adaptations in the heart from doing slower, middle distance, endurance work. But sprinting and like I would say, any of like the power movements that are really like 30 seconds or less, that builds your heart in a different way. Totally different way. So you need both. It's not like a either or. It's not black or white. You want your heart to be able to do all these different ranges, from sprints to middle distance to long distance. But I would say power and speed are just not respected unless you're like a power speed athlete. Right. In the greater fitness community, there's just this void. So I don't really know if it's a myth. It's more just like we don't do that.
I'm missing.
It's just like a missing link. You're like, well, if that was the base of your pyramid, then everything else would be easier.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you take the housewife who has to lift 2 kids all day, and her max deadlift is 100 pounds, and all of a sudden she's doing 200 pounds, she has a nice strength reserve in there. So now all of a sudden she's like, God, everything's kind of easy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the case for building strength. Well, there's a case for building power. Because power makes your endurance work better. Like everything else becomes relatively easier because you have a baseline that's much higher. So that like in between zone, that buffer, it's like insurance. It's like an insurance policy.
When you say long distance running is a downgrade, you're meaning that it's a downgrade as like the range of motion, the power that's put into it.
Yeah, it's technically not as hard.
Right. When you develop the sprinting strength and that, then going out and running is just going to be easier.
Exactly. And I'm not saying don't run.
Right.
Because if you want to run long distances or trail running, it's different. Mm-hmm. And in order to get those adaptations, you actually have to run long distance. If you want to get good at running long, you have to run long.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have to. But I just find it so weird that like everybody just says, oh, I want to do something. I need to go run a marathon or something. Well, you'd be better off running the 100 meter. Seriously, train for the 100 meter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'll be much healthier. There's not as much pounding on your body. It's over quickly. The hormonal benefits are huge. I mean, look at sprinters. They're in incredible shape. They don't run miles.
Yeah.
Right? So they're leaner than the people running distance running. You're like, well, man, maybe that leaves that's... Look at the clues.
Yeah.
Right?
Just the muscularity. And,
yeah. So I always tell people, like, listen, you can look how you want to look, but you have to chase the behavior, right? Yeah. Don't chase the body. I want to look like this. I'm like, engage in the behaviors that those people engage in. Long jumpers, pole vaulters, they all have similar physiques. They're very muscular. They're not huge, but they're very lean and they're muscular. And they have no body fat. Like, do those behaviors. Mm-hmm. Like, eventually, there's that whole term I learned in massage school, which is form follows function, which is basically that the form of something is going to change and adapt based on the functionality. Right, so like if you just sit on the couch and just shuttle in Oreos and and Doritos, your functionality is one thing sitting on the couch. You'll get bigger. You'll just get fat and huge, right? Form follows function. Why? Because this is the function you need. If you're sprinting and jumping around and doing that stuff, you need like a race car. So if you engage in those behaviors, the form, which is your body, has to change. It has to adapt to get more streamlined and to burn fat so it can do those movements again.
Yeah.
So that's what I always tell people. I'm like, okay, you can do whatever you want to do, but like if you say this is your goal, and most people have body goals, like I want this body. I'm like, that's fine, but you got to look at your behavior, right? You just ran a marathon, that's great, but like your body fat's 30%. It ain't working. Right? Like you're a Toyota Prius, and that's okay, but you're teaching your body to get really efficient at burning less fuel. Look at a lion, look at a cheetah. They're very muscular. They're not overweight. They spend 18 hours of the day sleeping, right? And then they sprint and eat, and then they rest, right?
Yeah.
Be a lion.
Yeah.
Be a cheetah. Be a predator. No.
What do you see as a mistake out of either being a coach? You can dabble in all of it. A coach, a business owner that think of the pro. What's a mistake that you see pros making, whether it's in the fitness industry, whether it's owning a business, whether it's dad, whatever it is?
I've done it myself.
It's a great place to start.
I don't need to look any further than myself. And one of the biggest mistakes I see, I'll talk about me first, is assuming just because you're good at training that you're going to be good at the business aspect of it. It's not true. You can be an excellent teacher. I can fly all over the world and teach and do these big conferences and workshops and feel like a huge success, but then make complete failure in organizing my books and marketing campaigns. And you can't do it all. You can't serve too many masters. And every now and then you get somebody who's very gifted at both. They're like an amazing speaker. They have the gift of gab. Their brain's amazing with, all this programming stuff. They can study, and they're good with business. I'm not one of those people. I'm good with business in the sense that I'm good with people, but I'm not good at the back end stuff. I'm not good at the taxes and organizing and systems and sales and that. I'm pathetic at that. And, when I lost my first two business partners, I just said, I'm just going to take it over. It's been a struggle. I mean, my business is doing well because my personal training business is phenomenal, but I'm not good at business. And there are times I would love to be like one of my renters. That's just being completely open. I would love to not have this huge overhead, and I'd love to just come in and rent and not have any stress.
Yeah.
So I think a huge mistake for new trainers that I see is that they have this assumption because they're passionate that the passion is going to fuel them to get successful, and that's complete horseshit. Business is rough, and I've seen so many really talented trainers that are new completely fail. They went out, they got a lease, they got big loans, tons of equipment, and they failed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, for one thing, it's very admirable. Hey, these people have the balls to go do that. Good for them. But also, not really. Because they didn't take any advice from people that says, well, why don't you go work for a trainer first? Work for them for 5 to 6 years to see how it's done. And I think it's just Instagram culture where people are just like, instant success. Yeah. I'm going to open up a business. I'm going to get, I'm going to be successful. You see my abs. I can do flags. I can, look at me. It doesn't work. Mm-hmm. People don't care about you. They don't care what you can do. They care what you can do for them. So that's the huge mistake I see trainers do. They just idolize and glorify what they can do, which to some degree I kind of get, but there comes a point when that's very intimidating for people. And they're like, ooh, I can't do that.
Right.
Why don't you just take some of your clients and show them getting better? Or maybe just, if you show something, show the basic version, the nuts and bolts, easy version. So it's just, it's so many trainers fail because they just don't understand the law of process. And the law of process is it's just there's no shortcut to success, and there's no shortcut to learning. You may be really smart, you may be a bookworm, but if you've never trained clients, you don't know. You don't know what it's like. If you've never had tough clients, if you've never struggled.
Yeah.
So my whole thing is like, let somebody else do that on their dime. Like, you go work for somebody, or you pay them rent. You let them figure out the business stuff. You watch and learn. And I think a lot of trainers will be much happier if they don't have their own facility.
How long have you been open at Revolution?
Since 2004.
2004. What was before that? What did you do before that?
I rented space actually in this building I'm in now. It was called Club La Jolla. It was like a big gym, corporate gym.
Yeah.
And I just rented space. I was just a renter.
Yeah.
And I trained clients. I ran my own business. And then my ex-wife and I at the time decided, shoot, we're paying so much rent. Like, why don't we just open up a facility, which was a risk. But here's what we did that was smart. We took a 700 square foot place, which was not that expensive. So it's like I really limited my downside. I'm like, what's the worst that can happen? I have to pay this little bit of rent. I already have clients. If I lose some clients, I probably can make some of those back. I see a lot of people taking way too much risk. Get huge facilities and this and that, and then there's like no clients. It's like crickets. Right?
I've been there, man.
And they sit there and you're just like, oh crap.
Yeah, I had the mentality, build it and they will come.
No, I say do the opposite. Get so freaking busy somewhere else, and to the point where you're paying so much rent, just like screw it. Like, I'm just going to open up, but start small.
Yeah.
Start small. I think what's really smart for trainers is, when you own a facility, it's more management. You have to yes, you train if you want to train, but you have to manage trainers. Are they paying you rent? Or if they're employees, are they doing a good job? Did they renew their insurance? It's like you end up doing all the stuff that is non-training related, and you may hate it. I hate it. I hate doing that stuff. So for me, looking into the next years of my life, like, as this lease is over, like, I'm going to downgrade. Because I don't want to work for the landlord. Like, the goal of having a business is to make it profitable. So even if you bring in a lot of money, if it's all going out, how is that smart business?
Yeah. So
learn from me. If anybody's listening to this that maybe wants to open up their own space, I'm not discouraging you. Do your homework and make sure that you really are in a position to do that. Like, if you are bloated with clients and you're pretty savvy with business, go for it. Start small. If you're loaded with clients but you're not good with business, either get a business partner, or better yet, go be a renter somewhere and don't have any of the stress of the other people. Because the goal is to make your life better. If your business is making your life worse, you're going to hate this industry, right?
Yeah.
Like, the goal is to enjoy your day, to not like dread, like, oh God, like, oh, this person didn't pay me, or
well, there's an aspect of, if you're getting tapped out and you're getting the life sucked out of you, then it's not
it's not worth it.
It's not good for
it's
anybody.
Like, go sell vacuums, maybe you'll be happier. I mean,
what's a mistake or you see of people who've been in the game for a long time? What do you see there?
I think a mistake is people trying to hold on to old paradigms and just trying to do the same thing, and not realizing that, like, people change, times change. Like, you don't need to change just for the sake of change. Like I'm not a big believer in just like jumping ship just because there's some shiny new object. Right. Principles don't change. Principles are eternal, they're timeless, they're changeless. Methods change. And the way that you convey those messages or market those messages changes. Like, back in the 90s when I started personal training, there wasn't Facebook. There wasn't Instagram.
Right.
Very different. Now, if I try to operate my business like I did in 1996, I'd probably not be very successful. Like, you have to evolve. You have to change with the times. And, I'd say another thing that can be very dangerous for trainers that have been in the game a lot is they get so comfortable with their clients that they just kind of forget to throw in new or have fun. Or they get so comfortable in their knowledge that they actually don't grow. Like, they don't learn, they don't study. And then, like, these new trainers come in and they're just, like, kind of, like, envious or even kind of mad. Like, well, they're doing all this stuff and, like, they're just hungry. Like we can learn from these little younglings. They're hungry. and they're learning and they're trying stuff, and like I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to get out there, and you know, so just because somebody's using a new tool that you don't like, maybe it's bullshit, maybe it's not a good tool, maybe it's something you should be doing.
Yeah.
It's that whole thing with like kettlebells. I saw like for years, yeah, we both started using kettlebells really early. I started using them in 2002. I was walking the streets of La Jolla, right in the street, with a 24/16, you know, from my car every day into the gym. I didn't want to leave it in the gym. I was a crazy trainer. Who in 2002 was walking the streets of La Jolla with kettlebells? Nobody.
Right.
And I had a rope. I had a battling rope. So I was this weird, goofy guy. Like, that guy's crazy. He's nuts. He's got these cannonballs. And you know what? I was willing to try something new. And it actually turned out to be a pretty damn good tool.
Yeah.
So if there was some advice I would say is, yeah, don't jump ship, but be open-minded to other tools. Like, it may turn out to be freaking amazing. It may turn out to be a total bust. Be open-minded to test it, and before you have an opinion about it, do it. Apply it. See if it works. If there's any value to it, use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, once again, it's perfect carryover to life, you know? I mean, don't get stuck in a box. Don't think everything you're doing is the end-all, be-all. Be open to the different things. If, try it. If it doesn't work, then move on, you know?
Yeah, and as long as a trainer is curious and asking questions, then they're going to be successful in their entire career. Like, the second they stop asking questions, I'm fearful. Like, ooh, that person, like I like people and they say, well, why would I do that? Like, why do I need sprinting? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance going on. Your brain's like, that's great. Scratch that brain. Make it hurt a little bit. If you're not challenging that part of your, cognitive life, your intellectual life, you're not growing.
Yeah.
Like, and we all get I have periods of time where I'm just like, oh, God, I need to, study or something. Like, I need to just get some new information.
I love reading, love doing stuff new. Like, I took up singing lessons because it just messes with my head, It's like...
I took up piano last year.
We were talking about it.
It's insane.
Yeah, so we're going to have to do something together.
You sing and I play the piano.
That's the next podcast.
That's the next podcast. We'll see if anybody listens to that one.
Well, what is something that you would like to leave people with?
I would say for fit pros or people that are either in the fitness industry, I would say definitely stay open-minded, but also don't stay so open-minded that you don't have a system. Like, always be in the process of kind of really kind of crystallizing what your core ethos is, like what your core belief is. Like I believe in X, and therefore, this is why I do X because of this. Mm-hmm. Like always be in the process of kind of defining in very simple terms, like big rocks, like what is it that really motivates you, and what is the message you're trying to get across. Like, mine is this intentional athleticism, like for the aging athlete. Why? Because you don't want to lose these capacities. We want health span. We don't want lifespan. To maximize every frickin' second of life that we have here. And fitness is just a great tool to do that, right? It's just very when you push yourself physically, it's very empowering to all other areas of life, and it really transcends just fitness. It's just a great vehicle, and it's very symbolic of you kind of taking a stand in your life and just taking ownership and being responsible and accountable, right? And I would just say, live a very proactive life in whatever it is you are. Don't live in a reactive mode where you're like, you just let stuff happen and you let opportunities go, and you're always like, I've really struggled with not being very good at making decisions sometimes, and it's costly. Like, sometimes you just need to make a decision and just go with it. And if it doesn't work out, then fine, make another decision. But you have to, you just have to do things. And if you're not excited by something, find something you're excited about. And in the fitness context, there's a lot in this world of the of the global fitness community. There's a lot of people that need help in the world. And you personally, as a coach or as a trainer, can only help so many people. I mean, you have a place. Everybody has a place if they're truly passionate about helping people, definitely in fitness. Everybody has a place, and everybody has a unique message. And I would say just like really find out what that message is, and as you talked about, like what gets you out of the morning, like what gets you up in the morning. Like if you would do something for free, which I don't always recommend, but if you would do it for free because you're that passionate about it, it's probably more of a craft rather than a job. Mm-hmm. And I say, work on your craft. Don't necessarily find a job. I've been very fortunate to have a craft.
Yeah.
Where all of the financial stuff and that's a job, but the coaching, the creating, the teaching, talking to you, that's a craft, right?
Yeah.
That's a craft. That's something that just like we could just talk all day about it because we're passionate about it. Yeah. And it's fun. And I would say find your message, find your passion, find your craft. Work on your craft, and live a proactive life. Like just like the only thing that matters is that you take action. Don't ideas whatever, you have all these ideas for business or training. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you actually take action. Like massive action on something. Yeah. Whatever it is. Like just do that every day. Just take massive action every day. Like that's like that.
That's it?
That's it.
Because it started with that.
That's it. Take massive action.
Cool. Where can people find you?
Primalspeed.com. And I'm on the internet, on Facebook, Franz Snideman, Twitter, and Instagram. Just my name, Franz Snideman.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really, really, really appreciate you, and I see all the stuff that you're doing in the world, and you've influenced myself, and I really appreciate you. So
thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I really respect you, and it was a joy to be on your podcast.
Cool.
All right.
Alrighty, and that's it. That's Franz Snideman. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. I know your time is very valuable, as is mine, and you listening to this show, I just don't take it lightly. All right, thank you so much for listening. And if you have any suggestions, any comments, you can always find me on Facebook under Robert Budd. You can leave comments and all that kind of goodies on my website, robertbudd.net. Anything that we've talked about that I could find links to will be on robertbudd.net/podcast, and under Franz Snideman's podcast. You can find it there. If you liked the show or didn't like the show, just you can leave a comment. You can go on Apple and rate the show, which would be really great. Really appreciate that. I also send out a monthly email that it's about stuff that I dig up in my life. I do tons of research to kind of not necessarily life hack, but things that are motivating me, things that that interest other people, that I get questions about. I just shoot out this email. It's not a newsletter. No one likes getting a newsletter. I don't even sign up for a newsletter. But if you want to get this email, got to go to my website, robertbudd.net. And scroll down until you see a spot where it says, this is not a newsletter, this is an email, and drop your email in there. All right? And until next time, enjoy life, smile a lot. Like my dad always says, if you smile, no one really knows what you're thinking, including yourself. All right. Until next time, take care. Peace out.